Hey everyone, this is Walter from iWalter. I'm going to do something completely different that I've never done before. I am actually not just going to record on video, but I'm also going to record on Audacity at the exact same time. It's iWalter. Yeah, I'm using my hands. I'm Italian. What do you expect? So this is a little bit different. My friend Matt says, is this really going to get you any more hits? I don't know. I don't get many hits anyway. I got a bottle of water instead of soda and iced tea. This is going to be different. I have the fan off, so it's going to get really hot. I have a fan behind me, by the way. You can't see it. Again, it's something different. I'm trying to experiment. I'm trying to expand my horizons, and I'll, because I was listening to Glen Beck. I actually finally figured out that he does do a pod. He puts his radio show on a podcast, which is on those streaming networks. I can't remember the one that I put last. I turned off my phone and everything. It's like, you know what? This is ridiculous. I am not going to use it. It's that one network. I could check. Oh, no, I don't want to screw anything up, actually. It's not that important. But there's that one streaming audio thing that's been around for years. I don't even know if I have it on my desktop. But it was perfect because they have Glen Beck. I have iHeart. It's not iHeart. It's another one. I was just seeing if I have it on my desktop. I don't. And yeah, just to be safe, I turned off my cell phone and my iWatch because if one doesn't pick up, the other one does, and I don't like that at all. Anyway, I wanted to call this show tonight, Fake Rape, because it seems like that's the big thing now. Now, I'm not downplaying. There is women and probably men who have been sexually assaulted, and it is a very serious crime. It should be addressed. But I just have to bring this up because the traffic, like yesterday, was extremely bad because I was going to different interviews, and it was really, really bad. I mean, at noontime, I had to head out to go down to Horsham to my first interview. Let me see, I got the cards here. And the first interview was for this place called Aerotech. I'm going to see if I can hold it up at my camcorder. So, and then my second one was called People Share, and that one was the second one for the day. And for those viewers who are going to see this, you're going to see that on a couple of my media sites, and you can let me know. So it was really cool. This is my little angel here, my little nun. I decided to use her. You can't see it on the radio, but you can't hear it on the radio, but you can see it on my when I kind of conglomerate this thing. So there's going to be some dead spots, by the way. And I'll work at that. I'll edit it together later on because I got some segments from Glen Beck. Like I said, he had some host on today. He got really sick, too. He's actually touring for a new book he put out. Closest he's going to be coming in Pennsylvania is Hershey, Pennsylvania. I don't know how far it is. I was going to ask my friend Matt, hey, dude, would you want to go to that? I know I don't have a lot of money, but the tickets aren't that expensive. And Matt, you were the first person to actually take me to a celebrity talk show host for conservative radio years ago, and that was Glen Beck, and it was really cool. And so it would be kind of interesting to do it once again if I had the money, depending on if I'm actually going to start my a job somewhere. I actually applied for a lot of jobs. One was called Abercrombie, and I did not hear back from them. I don't think I will. The other one was for they call them contractors now, but they're really not contractors. They're temp agencies. They just give it a different name. And I went for one that would have been just packing boxes. Basically, believe it or not, it's when you're at high schools, it's a high school up in Lansdale from where I live. And basically, the girl said, "Oh, it pays $11 an hour," which at this point I'll take anything. I have bills I still haven't coming through. I'm used to making almost 3 times, well, actually more than 3 times that amount. But that's fine. I don't care. I need money. So anyway, yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, it would be just packing trinkets in boxes for these kids sell magazines, and they win prizes for selling the most magazines at I forget the name of that school, North Penn. Well, we're gonna pack the boxes of their gifts, so it's you know what? I will do it. I'll probably end up stealing some of the toys. I'm kidding. I shouldn't say that word steal because then people get all panicky. So, and it was like, okay, I told the girl, I'm glad I did this now. She said it won't start for 2 weeks and it'll run till somewhere in December. It was like, hey, if nothing else comes through, I'll definitely take it. Just keep me in mind. And she said, yeah. And I told her I had another job that paid a little bit more money. So it was a little bit less than half of what I make now, but still that's better. And it was a company that packs pills for pharmacies. They repackage them. And it was over in Audubon. So that's like, hey, that's right down the street. I could probably get out of bed like the last second, go to work, and they have a first and second shift. They pay $14.25 for second, and they offered overtime. And it was like, I don't know the name of the place for either one of these things people I'd be working for, but I definitely called both of them back, and I told them, hey, I'm definitely interested. If one doesn't come through, I just want to let you know. Please keep me in mind for either or out of the two jobs. Now, there was a third place that called me or emailed me last night, so I called them. It was for another job that was kind of far. I can't remember where. I just knew it was far, for $11 an hour. And it was like I called them back out of good faith, because I get it irritated when people never respond back, and especially professionals who claim they're going to call you back and they never do. They just totally forget about it. It's like, it's like when you, one of those situations when you try to call a girl you want to date and then they don't like you, so they don't call you back. Well, I hate to say it, it's the same type of behavior I get from company people. And because generally most of them are females that I have to deal with. And it's like, I'm not asking you to date me. I'm asking you to get me a job so I can, get off of unemployment. And you're not helping the situation when you just ignore me. So it's really irritating. So this other place, again, it's not important what the name was. I called them back. The woman who actually emailed me picked up the phone. I said, hey, you just emailed me. I want to get back to you. I appreciate you keeping me in mind for this. It was like an IT position, but it was data entry. And I said, I really appreciate it. Fortunately, it only pays $11 an hour. But at this point in time, I am waiting for two other jobs. But I definitely like the fact that you reach out to me. So that's a number one to me. And out of respect, I called back and say I appreciate you keeping me in mind, because I've been applying for every single job under the sun. I'm taking a swallow for those people who can't see it. So anyway. Yesterday was just a circus around here because I didn't think about it. And it's bad all the time anymore. My one friend doesn't want to believe this. He doesn't even want to swallow the fact that we're getting people in from different states. And unfortunately, they're blue states that we're getting this group of people coming in from these blue states that are just going to terrorize Pennsylvania now and just vote Democrat. That's why I'm saying that, because we are like borderline red state, blue state, give or take. I mean, the fact that we hired, well, it's the same thing. We elected a Republican president, in so many words or less, not a true Republican, but he did run as a Republican. That it's kind of interesting because normally it's always Democrats that get elected, and even Pennsylvania. So we go back and forth. Mostly it swings towards to the left, more towards being Democrat that they vote for a lot of times, because people like all their welfare and their benefits. That's just me speaking. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that. So, Matt, don't get your panties in a bunch over that. So anyway, anymore, about 60% of the driver's license around here parked in the houses around here, because I've actually taken, on my cell phone, I've taken a photo of the amount of cars I see with Jersey, New York, California now. Somebody actually bought a house from California around here. That's another major blue state, by the way. Texas, the people that were more not as conservative, because I would think Texas is a more conservative state, but those who are not conservative are now fleeing their state, and they're coming this way. They're going east, young man. And it's really scary because these people, and actually I heard something today on the radio. I can't remember. It was 580, I believe I was listening to. I actually waffled around. Well, I went around today. I actually listen to Glenn Beck's podcast for change instead of Rush Limbaugh at 12 noon till 3 for a little bit while I was getting ready. So anyway, yeah, it's more people coming in from other states is one thing I wanted to say, or I was saying. But I don't know, but you know what? I just lost my train of thought. I can't believe I did that. It's no shock for me. But yeah, it's really, really, so many words or less. It's very irritating. And I apologize. I don't know what happened to me. I just lost my train of thought. I know what I really wanted to do my podcast on. Let me say that first. I wanted to talk about a little bit, not directly about. It was about Bill Cosby, Bill Cosby, because he's in the jail around where I lived. You know, he had his trial in Norristown, and he's in jail. I thought it was in Eagleville, but now they're saying it was somewhere else. I thought somewhere in Montgomery County. So it's like a jump, hop, and skip away from where I live. Now, a friend was saying this as a joke real quick because I did forget my train of thought. I apologize. But a friend said you should go do a podcast with Bill Cosby in the prison. I was like, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. I said, if you were around here, I would have gotten you to go with me, and I would have actually had the balls to probably ask him, hey, do you mind if I do a podcast with Bill Cosby? Now, most people would say, you're fucking insane. You know, why would you want to do with something like that with that guy? Because the guy's a pervert, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you know what? I hear this stuff, but I just have a hard time swallowing it. That's all I have to, well, I'm going to start off saying. And I actually wrote in a private chat room between me and a friend and his brother how this really, like, kind of, you know, I have to take the devil's advocate. And all they did was, and I sent it to another friend, you know, a coworker I work with at Merck, and I said to him, I said, you know what? Can you, like, just look at this text that I put? Because the response back from these two guys were, in my opinion, very childish, and, you know, something to expect from, like, little kids sending picture gift text, just basically reaming me and making me, like, look like an ass. And it's like, I take a big offense to that. I took a very serious offense to that. It's like, I'm trying to be diplomatic and be professional about this, and to look at it from a different perspective than what the news has been plastering on Bill Cosby. I don't know the man, and I'm sure nobody else really knows him. They just know that you should be attacking him left and right. That's about all I see. Okay, so I must have made some typos, grammar errors, whatever, but I can try to read through and make people suffer through what I wrote. I was hoping to make it bigger, but it's not working. So I have it up, this text. I wanted to point this out. So I should just move on, like moveon.org, but I should move on for what I forgot because I thought by this point I would remember. So I have a couple stories, like, you know, let me put some stuff in this mix. Let me make some interesting comments here and there. But again, the main focus for me doing a podcast tonight, and I'm going to try to keep it within the hour range at the most, not the least. If I can make it less than an hour, that's perfect. But I just want to make the point with Bill Cosby. And why this came up, I'm going to go back to this, because maybe this is where I forgot my train of thought, like, left. Is I was listening to Glen Beck. He had some author on today for a book. Really smart lady. And I know I would forget her name, so guess what? I had made a sound clip where Glen Beck announces his host, and then there was one key part that I wanted to hear. It was like, wanted everyone to hear. It was like 7 minutes long on the Glen Beck show. And it was funny because you could tell him getting sick, and he got so sick that they actually had to send him home. But right before that, his voice was perfect, and it was on today's show. And I think it was the third hour that he started going south on his getting very sick. So anyway, I want to play you that. But, yeah, when I heard, and she was talking about the thing with Kavanaugh. I can't say that name properly. See, this is why I try to take clip-ins when I can. And it was like, wow, this is really getting to me now. When you're hearing about Judge, he's not yet. He's going to go for Supreme Court judge, or to become a judge, Supreme Court judge, this Kavanaugh. And you hear all these nonsense accusations about him, and so far, all of them have been proven wrong. Now, I don't know Bill Cosby from a hill of beans. I just know him as an entertainer. So let me go back to that real quick. And why I wanted to mention this, and why I'm kind of questioning, there's just like way too many women. Now, if you, like, somebody made a really good accusation, and it was a friend from work, and he answered it, and I said, dude, this is what I'm looking for. Like a very intelligent answer, not sending me childish posts or pics or what do you call it, gifts, just insulting me, making me feel like I'm an idiot. And that was like very disrespectful. I was actually really shocked. So I'm just saying I was very disappointed in the two people who did this to me. I felt very offended. I'll probably get picked on if they would actually listen to this. I don't think they do, so I'm pretty safe. I generally have no listeners, so it's not a big deal. So anyway, I wrote the first off. Well, actually, I should say why I came up with this speculation. I'm hearing all this stuff about Kavanaugh, and is it Kavanaugh? It's not with an F. It's Kavanaugh. Something like that. I'm seeing all this stuff about him, all these false accusations, and I hear about all these rape allegations for the last couple years, and it's always coming from the left where a woman comes out and says, oh, yeah, these lacrosse kids had raped me, and it was found to be bogus. Then there was an article somewhere in this mix, I wish I could find it now, where a woman gets actually arrested now. Oh, here we go. God, I pulled it right up. Woman who made false rape claim sentenced to prison. So, and that was in the New York Post. Yeah, I got it right, actually, for a change. That's a weird thing for me. And it's like, this is like becoming a normal thing for women. And why it bothers me, I told this one friend, I was in a situation where I was groped by a woman, and, I had sexual advancements, not what I look like now, but years ago. And apparently that was okay. That's fine. It was okay. And, you don't hear anything about it because, what are you? Are you a sissy? So what if a girl grabs you or something? Now, if a girl makes an accusation that you grabbed her, trust me, you're going to go to jail if you're a male. That's just a fact. And I've been on this. I told the friend from work, I said, I've been on the send in and receiving line. So I'm sick and tired of these accusations that are false. I really am sick of it, and it just seems to be more and more of them. So, and there was the one with the lacrosse team. I think the one sound clip I'm going to play tonight is going to have that on there. So, just let you know. So, anyway, I'm going to figure out later how I'm going to edit this audio or video part. If the audio is no problem. So, that one with the woman who was sentenced to jail now, says the 19-year-old Long Island woman was who filed, I apologize about that, filed a bogus rape complaint against two Sacred Heart University football players, was sentenced Thursday to a year behind bars and got a tongue lashing from the judge. So I hate to tell you, that same offense, if it was coming from a guy, would spend more. He would probably spend like 10 years in jail. I hate to tell you. But yeah, she made up a false complaint that she was raped by two football players, and it came out that she was lying about it. She was lying, just made the whole thing up. And I remember years ago watching like some of these reality, what do you call it? These segments on true life situations, and there was some woman, she was afraid to, I forget what the whole thing was, but she accused some guy who didn't even know her. This was on some show years ago. Accused her of raping her. So the guy spent almost 30 years, I think it was, 20 or 30 years behind bars. And then for some reason, she got a guilt complex. And she said, oh, yeah, I just made the whole thing up. This guy never even touched me. So the guy was so happy to get out of jail, but 3/4 of his life was over at that point. I mean, this woman lied and had him placed behind bars. They never even did a true investigation of allow this to happen. No DNA, test. Generally, if a woman cries rape, and she was sexually assaulted, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to look for markings on her body. They're going to look for any type of, I hate to say this, but sperm that might have been ejaculated into her vagina. But no, none of this stuff. So the guy this was before all this forensics testing, I think, too. But the bottom line is, she had some guy who was completely innocent spend almost 3/4 of his life behind bars. So how's that cool? How's that? Well, there's nothing you can do about it. That is very scary. And I don't know why I'm the only one who actually sees where this is going with these people who make these false accusations. And going back to where I wanted to start with, and what I wanted to do the show about mainly, which was Bill Cosby. I grew up with that man. I didn't watch his Cosby Show, but I'm just saying I grew up knowing the man. When I was a little kid, I used to watch all these different cartoons. I hate to say it. I did watch, nothing wrong with it, but I did watch Fat Albert. And at the time, it was I never thought twice about it. It was funny. It was entertaining. Everybody knew and loved Bill Cosby for years. And then he did all those Jell-O pudding pop commercials, Jell-O pudding commercials. He made probably a fortune off of those. Then he had the Cosby Show for I don't know how long. It just seems like it was on forever. And you saw, his family on TV, his family TV, whatever, for years grow up and whatever happened, because I never really watched the show. But people loved that show. And the Cosby Show was the coolest thing because it was very successful. Everybody loved Cosby. Not liked him, they loved him. And then there was also the situation where there was, oh, yes, okay, I remember what I was going to say. Situation where he would, every year, I think for, I would say probably decades, that Cosby was the biggest celebrity that Temple, kind of pushed. He was in all the commercials. He did all the graduations every year for Temple University in Philadelphia. Again, another thing people loved Cosby for. So, that being said, it was this man was on a pedestal for years. And I just kind of have to bite my tongue. Now, with that, Harvey Weinstein, that's what the one friend wrote. He said, I believe Weinstein was guilty as hell. And it's yes. And he kind of, he said pretty much that he also believes that Bill Cosby is guilty. But I'm telling you, dude, when people put their mind to it, or I should say the media and the public and a group of women get together, I hate to say this again, a group of women get together from the left, and they have their mind to destroy somebody's life, they're going to do it. And that's exactly what they did to Bill Cosby. The man is basically, he's probably been retired for years. And out of nowhere, these women come out making these accusations. Now, I don't know, but nobody else knows either. So I wrote to so-and-so in a private text in a private chat room on Facebook. Blank for the name. I appreciate you responding back, and I respect it, because they felt that Weinstein was guilty. Now, this is a different friend, by the way, not the friend I'd spoken to on a private text today. But I said to him, I respect your answer, that both you feel that Weinstein and Cosby are guilty. But what I wrote back, again, I'm going to start without his name. I appreciate you responding back, and I respect it. Weinstein, I won't argue with you about it at all. That's what I wrote. I'm trying to paraphrase what I said. That guy is a real piece of work. This is what I wrote. Again, But I said, Cosby, I just questioned lately every male in arm's length is under suspicion who is financially wealthy, which, let's face it, Cosby's probably got more money than he knows what to do with. So, excuse me, I basically placed it down. I said, it seems like a witch, excuse me, it seems like a witch hunt from the accusations which consider, it's like fake news to me. Excuse me, let me clear my throat. This is not going to happen anytime soon, obviously. But I just wrote him, I said, Cosby, I just question the fact if he's actually guilty. Because everybody in arm's length, it seems like the liberal, how did I put it? That anybody with money is under suspicion if you're a male. It doesn't matter what race or creed you are. It just matters that you're a guy. And I said, it seems like a witch hunt. The accusers, which consider the fake liberal media and combined with the fake liberal media, seem to be ganging up on any male at this point. So I made the accusation. I made the question and argument that this reminds me about when they had the Salem witch trials, because I looked it up. That was like the turn of the century, practically. There were people still, well, not with the Salem witch trials, but they were, singling out people. So, because I don't want to read this whole damn thing that I wrote last night. But the bottom line is, I feel like some of these women are real gold diggers. I'm going to get I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. But yeah, I said, I basically put that some of these women are, again, gold diggers, I feel, and have no scruples. And I said, my fear is when the media whores, not whores, but the media whores, these people are just trying to make a name for themselves that are newscasters, when are they going to stop victimizing the wrong people? Because what it does, it offsets the people who are real victims. Nobody's going to want to hear it. That's what I basically put. And I put that the culture is thriving on these accusations. So it reminds me back, when you watch these old movies, because I wasn't alive back then, when, you had the Roman Empire and they had those arenas and they threw slaves into a pit with lions, or they had people duking it out, in my words. Or you had these Salem witch trials where, oh, this woman's a witch, so we got to dunk her and see if she floats, or we're going to burn her and see if she survives. I mean, it's nonsense like that that's in the 21st century is happening all over again. I thought this was behind us in our history, but it's not. It's alive and kicking once again. And it all stirred up more so with the 8 years we had Obama in office. That's when it was the worst. This victimization. Let's pull out the people who we think are witches, the Salem witch trials. Let's get the public execution. That was the one, believe it or not, I did not notice. It was not until, I think, the 1920s or 30s that was the very last time you saw a public execution. It was something like that. Because I looked all this stuff up last night. I wrote this in what I wrote in a private message on Facebook. And all I got in return was all this nonsense, no words, just these stupid GIFs and stupid pictures that were just very degrading. I mean, they were horrible. And I was like, am I talking to a 4-year-old or a 50-year-old? Because I can't tell at this point. So I'm trying to see if there's anything else worth looking at in here. Because I wrote it. There was a couple little bit of grammatical errors. That is Walter. It's always going to be that way. Well, you should proofread. I do proofread, and I still have problems. But yeah, they are kind of singling out wealthy men. You had, yes, Weinstein was guilty. You had Bill Cosby. You have most of these people that were anchors that they're turning against themselves, that are turning the anchors and throwing them under the bus. And then you have Trump, and then you have Kavanaugh. And I mean, it's like endless with the public witch hunt for every man just to basically cut off his penis, it seems like. Oh my God, this man's he's a serial rapist. We need to put him, might as well just put him in on a stake and burn him alive or something, because that's what it's turning into. Again, the Salem trials. Okay, my last thing I wrote is on this thing. It was like a paragraph. I love seeing justice being served, and there is tons of corruption where there's money and power, but meaning that, hey, if these people are guilty, yes, they should be punished for it. But the way it's being corrected seems, these issues seems awfully scary and barbaric. That was my last word. I used the word barbaric. Because exactly what it is. It's barbaric. You're going after everyone now. And it doesn't matter who it is. You just have to be a male. And when it's females, nothing is done about it. If a female's doing any sexual perverse or deviant act, nothing's done about it. It becomes like, well, that's because they've been repressed for so long. And I'm sick of that too. Oh, well, this person's been repressed for over 200 years. Oh, this person has never been treated right. They've been always treated like second-class citizens. Okay, well, that was in the 20th century. We now live in the 21st century. When are people going to realize we are no longer in the 20th century or in the 21st century? We're not in the 19th century. We're not in the 18th century. We're not even in the turn of the birth of Lord Jesus Christ. We are beyond that point. And people need to realize this and start to wise up, start to act like mature adults, stop acting like little children. So that's the part that really gets under my skin. So right now, I'm going to play the first thing, the intro that Glen Beck introduces his host, the third hour today. And I'm going to do that now, so I hope you enjoy this, because I think I will.
Are excited to have Mona Sharon, syndicated columnist and senior fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center, joining us. Mona, welcome to the Glen Beck program.
Okay, I just want to let you know the reason I did that, because I know I'd mess up the name, so it was Mona, but, make sure it was said properly. That was on Glen Beck. Now, here's the main part I want you to listen to right this moment.
What the left has done regarding Kavanaugh is just assume that he's guilty based on allegations alone, without evidence. I mean, without more evidence, let's put it that way.
Yeah, and they seem to be rationalizing it in that this is not a criminal trial, so there's no presumption of innocence. Well, that I don't buy into that, because you can't just change every rule because it's not a criminal hearing.
No, in fact, let's bear in mind that what we're saying then, if you say, well, it's not a criminal trial, it's just a job interview, and therefore, you can engage in full-bore character assassination and pay no price for it. Is that the kind of society we want to live in, where a mere accusation unsupported by convincing evidence will be enough to completely destroy a person's reputation? I mean, people used to fight duels over their reputations. Reputation is still an incredibly important thing. I mean, imagine if you've spent a lifetime, trying to live an upright life, and people regard you with respect. And in the Kavanaugh's case, you're a federal judge, and suddenly the whole world thinks of you as a would-be rapist.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it will destroy his life.
It's despicable. And the sad fact of this Me Too hysteria, and nobody wants women to be abused or harassed or mistreated in any way. But on the other hand, you can't just start destroying everybody in their career just on an allegation, right? And we're into dangerous territory here.
Correct. And first of all, so what a lot of the feminists and the Democrats are saying is we have to believe women, because in the past women were not believed. Well, it's a little more complicated than that. I mean, yes, it is true that that in the past sometimes women perhaps were not believed. But first of all, we do know that false accusations of rape have been made by women. Women do sometimes lie about rape, and with terrible consequences, right? I mean, if you remember the Tawana Brawley episode a few years back, which brought Reverend Al Sharpton to fame, what did he do? He presented this teenage girl who claimed that she had been raped and abused by 4 New York City cops. And that turned out not to be true. There have been many, many cases where women have alleged things that haven't been true. The other instance that comes to mind more recently was a rape on campus, the Rolling Stone story, in which a student alleged that she had been gang raped at a fraternity at the University of Virginia. And everybody's stereotypes were rolled out. They said, oh, these frat boys, that's just the kind of thing one would expect from them. The same sort of thing happened at Duke, where an exotic dancer or a stripper or whatever claimed that the lacrosse team had raped her. So it's not unheard of for women to make false accusations. That's the first thing we have to understand. And the consequence of a rape conviction or a sexual assault conviction or even a belief that somebody committed that crime are so severe that, of course, we should guard against, flimsy or unproven accusations, because the consequences are so dire for the person who is accused. But the other thing we have to realize as grown-ups is, look, in most instances of sexual assault, there are only 2 witnesses. It does not happen, for the most part, in a public place, and because of that, of course, it is hard to parse what really happened. It is he said, she said, and so we do look for other forms of corroboration, and those include whether the woman sought medical care right away, did she tell other people at the time, did anybody see them together, and so on, and then also you look for patterns of behavior. So in the Me Too movement, which I've been broadly supportive of, I think that men who abuse women should be held to account, and they should be shamed and punished. Mm-hmm. But what's notable in the most high-profile cases that we've seen over the past year or so is that there are patterns of behavior. That these men, when they behave this way toward women, it's not just one woman, it's a whole bunch of women who come forward and say, yes, me too. And so now this movement, unfortunately, which was really, I think, a beneficial thing for our society, is being transformed into a partisan cudgel to go after Kavanaugh, and these supportive statements are just, they don't pass the minimal standards of evidentiary trustworthiness. So, for example, the story that the New Yorker ran, which I think is a disgrace to journalism. The woman in question there was remembering something that happened more than 30 years ago, and was saying that she herself, the person making this accusation, was so unsure of whether it had been Kavanaugh or not that she had to wait 6 days and consult her memories and consult her lawyer before she could come forward and say to the New Yorker, yeah, I think it was him.
Yeah, the last 35 years weren't sufficient to consult her memories. Yeah. But the 6 days were. Those were really helpful.
Okay, for those who are watching the video, we have them back. All right, so yeah, that was a lot of information to take in, but the woman who had mentioned this, she has a book that came out, or is coming out. You can buy it on Amazon. Let's see if I have it. I have it posted. Let's go look for the name again. It's in my mix of stuff. So, well, actually not my mix of stuff, but I thought it was on my Facebook page. So, yeah, you can find the book. Oh. I apologize. I can't find it. I thought you know what? Sometimes I link things to my Facebook page and then it just kind of disappears. Especially depending if it's like ultra conservative. Yeah, it's gonna be gone because I do distinctly remember putting this up. So, you heard the name at the beginning of this segment of before I played those two clips, and I did give the name of the woman's book, and for some reason it's not there. So it's kind of weird. I don't know why they do stuff like this. So anyway, I'm going to go through a couple of these stories, at least a couple of these stories now. But yeah, this segment that I just played for you, just to let you know, was the exact same thing that kind of got me like, you know what? I'm going to do a podcast tonight. And then that was the reason. That was one of the things I did want to point out. I'm trying to look because I did add it to my Amazon book page. Oh, okay. Well, actually, no, it's not okay. Because actually, Glen Beck has a book coming out, too, called Outrage, and he's doing a tour. I mentioned at the beginning of the show. But I did plug, on my Facebook page, the woman who was his host today. And that book is nowhere to be found on the page where I originally had, posted it. Like, oh, wow, this is really cool. So I don't know what happened. It actually just kind of went poof off my webpage. Maybe somebody got like offended by it and they had it removed. So I'm gonna have to relook for that name of that book. So anyway, let me move on because I have a hard time doing that. I'm going to go through these stories, and it will be the end of iWalter once again, and I got 20 minutes to do this in. I think I can get this done in a nice, tidy manner. It's not the right terminology, but I think you know what I mean. Matt always jokes about that. Like you assume somebody else knows what you're thinking, and they really don't. So tough cookies for you people. So I was looking for some stories to put up, and they're always the same. I can't think of how to put it in words properly, but it's always the same group of people or whatever. It's entertaining. But I saw this story that was actually kind of funny. It was very funny. I'm going to try to use a different word. The New York Post, a different story too, not with women being claiming they're rape victims, because there's plenty of those stories up anymore. They're trying to flood, this, people's minds with, well, all men are bad. You want to vote for women and things like that. You want to vote for Democrats because they believe in women's rights. No, they don't. In fact, one of the shows, that's what I actually, finally I remember what I wanted to say. 42 minutes into the show, I actually remember. I was talking about, I heard this on the news, where they were talking about on the conservative radio station. It's 580 that I listen to from I believe it's Harrisburg. But they were saying, I think it's November 2nd is going to be an important time for people to vote. Now, it's not like you're voting for the president, but it's equally as important because it's other office people in important positions that you need to vote for. That's coming up in November. And they said, it's right around the corner. And if you notice that the increase in the uprise of all these rape victims and how everything's being mistreated, how Trump is such a bad president, that's really they stepped up their game on the left right now, because it's only let me think about this, maybe 7 weeks away, something like that. So now they stepped up their game to make sure that people are aware of, you really want to vote for Democrats. You don't want to vote for those nasty Republicans. And you want to make sure that we get as many Democrats into these office positions so we can go forth and impeach Trump. I mean, I've never seen, again, it goes back to what I said before with, this witch hunt. That's exactly what it is, this witch hunt against males, how they're all sexual predators. This is a buildup. They're trying to get a case that people will believe. They're trying to brainwash people that are not very up on the news or what's going on in our politics in this country. and making them believe that, oh, you need to vote Democrat because we're going to change everything. We're going to get rid of this nasty Trump that everybody hates, which is not true. But that small, select few group of people who are pushing this agenda that Trump is the worst president ever, they're actually pretty successful at it so far because it hasn't stopped. They haven't stopped complaining. They haven't shut up yet. So anyway, this New York Post story. Suspect, now get this, suspect busted with fake $100 bills between, I'm not even joking, between his butt cheeks. So Robert Mitchell, 29, was stopped by police Monday in Nashville, where he was allegedly speeding and initially refused to slow down. It says WSMV reports. And they found $100 bills basically shoved up his butt. So that's very entertaining. So it was like, okay, that's his bond. They said they held him in custody for $7,500, but $100 bills shoved up his. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Shoved up his ass. God, this is great. Welcome to America. Anyway, my mom was flaking out today. My dad was flaking out. We have this problem in Pennsylvania right now with these things called spotted lanternflies. So I actually found one on our screen of our front door. We have a screen door, and it was like, wow, is this what a lanternfly looks like? Because my father says, oh yeah, we got all these lanternflies around here. I haven't seen one. I don't know what they look like, and they are pretty nifty looking because they have all these multicolors. They're almost like a glorified version of Mothra. And it was like, wow, there's one on the screen. This is really cool. I mean, aren't they harmless? So my parents said, you need to kill that. You got to kill it now. And it was like, why? It's kind of cute looking. So I asked a friend. He says, yeah, you are supposed to kill these things because they are not only a nuisance, but they are kind of dangerous. I don't know. I really could care less. Because I don't like spiders. I don't like other things. But lanternflies really don't bother me. But apparently, yeah, if you see a lanternfly, you should, dispose of it, get rid of it. Excuse me. But, yes, kill it. Kill it. Kill it, mother. Kill it. So, yeah, that was kind of funny to me. Okay. Oh, yeah. It's all these stories, and it's gotten worse. This is the thing I think I was trying to start, and again, I forgot this story too. Is we're getting all these people from other states, the red states, that are moving to Norristown, Pennsylvania, to Philadelphia, to Harrisburg, to Reading, and a lot of it is because those areas also are filled with illegal immigrants, which we can't touch because they're all those places in Pennsylvania, they're all considered sanctuary cities, especially Philadelphia if you listen to Glen Beck. So there's been an uprise in criminal acts that are really, really bad. And it's just like it's getting worse and worse. I mean, it's as though I really feel like when I pull out of my driveway that I'm driving in New York City, which I hadn't done that in at least 30 years. But New York is moving into Pennsylvania, and it's moving into Norristown and Philadelphia and these other areas. And they drive. I had somebody in a Mini Cooper yesterday. It was a kid on a single lane, double yellow lines behind me, and I wasn't going fast enough. He was trying to pass me in a Mini Cooper at high speeds. It's like, you're not going to do it. I actually was down, if you're familiar, folks, with the area, those that are, it was down in Audubon. It was like right around the Audubon Bird Sanctuary. That stretch of road, the guy was trying to pass me on a single lane, and he was driving recklessly. I had a couple young kids like that. It was ridiculous. And it's gotten far worse. And again, I would say about 60% of the plates around here are all from Jersey and New York, mainly. Now California and Texas and Connecticut and Delaware. Now, the problem is they're moving to this area. They're not just visiting. They're moving to this area. And it's not just because we have the biggest mall in the world. Trust me, it's more than that, or in the country at least. It's a lot more than that. And I see a lot of these stories about somebody got killed. I'll read that in a second. and some other really violent acts, which I never heard of before. Now, all of a sudden, it's like every single day, almost every minute. So anyway, this Norristown Patch story says, 5 in criminal organization busted for armed robberies, Monco DA. Break-in, a dangerous group of criminals are behind armed robberies and attempt of kidnapping at the same local car dealership the DA had mentioned. So, and this was in Norristown, by the way, because it was a Norristown story. Doesn't really specify. It says something about an El Camino Motors. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, and they have a mugshot of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people, one being a woman, behind armed robberies that had taken place in Norristown out of a car dealership. That is really scary. I'm sorry. It is extremely scary. Let me see if I can find the one with the person who got shot. And I apologize again. I know I'm constantly apologizing about not being able to find the right resources. I thought it's one of these things you think you have everything up that you need for the night and you don't. And I only got 7 minutes left. Oh, God, I made an hour show. I can't believe it. Another Norristown Patch story. This happened on Sunday. Arrest made in Norristown teen's murder. 18-year-old has been arrested for the murder of a Norristown teen last weekend. I thought it was actually this past Sunday. This is last weekend. I didn't realize that. So anyway, yeah, so it says Andre Marcus Johnson, 18, of Philadelphia, faces murder, robbery, and related charges in connection with the killing of a 19-year-old Desmond Johnson, authorities had mentioned. And this happened in Norristown, too, by the way. This had happened on Saturday night. I guess I didn't post that story, but I did have a story, I'm not joking, that somebody had gotten stabbed to death. Oh, here we go. I do have it up. And this was in the Norristown Patch. This is the one I was thinking of. The other one's really bad. Don't get me wrong. And there's another story, actually, another one on teen violence and murders, all in Norristown again. And this is within a time span of less than a few days or like a week. A victim stabbed to death in Norristown over the weekend. This one happened on Sunday of this past Sunday. A victim was stabbed to death in Norristown over the weekend. Authorities confirmed, and investigations underway. Now, before they gave the name of the street, okay, here it is. I see it now. It happened Sunday afternoon, just a couple days ago, 500 block of DeKalb Street near Monco County Courthouse. Person got stabbed to death. I mean, and this wasn't actually broad daylight this time. Somebody got stabbed to death because it said like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Or, yeah. Somewhere it said that. So take my word for it. How's that? So, I mean, how's this making me feel comfortable about a place that was great years ago is now like not only a sanctuary city, it's just like it is like the slums of Philadelphia have moved up here now. Apologize for using that word, but it does seem that way. Here's a story I don't think I had in my mix, but I'm putting it in now. I don't think I read this. Teenager victim of weekend murder in Norristown identified. Norristown, PA murder investigation has been launched following the slate of a teen in Norristown in this weekend. Did I read this or not? I can't remember. It says Desmond Zare Johnson, 19, has been identified as the victim of the killing. The Montgomery County District Attorney's Office announced on Monday. So I guess the person who did the stabbing was found the next day, which is pretty impressive. It shouldn't have happened at all. I believe this is the same one because this could be a different story. Because there's just so many murders and really dangerous things happen around Trooper in Norristown that you never heard about like 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. Police arrived on 300 block of Carlson Avenue, or Alley, I corrected myself, at around 12:22 a.m. Sunday morning after there was a report of a gunshot in the area. So this is a different one, actually. I didn't know that. So you had a stabbing at 5 o'clock and a gun shooting at around 12:22 a.m., which would be actually, would that be Sunday morning or would that actually be Monday morning? Because it says 12:22 a.m. It's a good question there, Walter. Well, thank you. I thought it was too. So anyway, thank God Walter ran out of stories to botch up. So I'm going to say right now, with 4 minutes to spare, but I'm going to have my little, exit music, that this is Walter from iWalter. And yes, I will be signing off for now. So have a good night, folks. And I hope you enjoyed that.